I'm so excited about doing this class on Eric Carle. I had attitude about Eric Carle when I was a younger person. I actually met him. I took my kids to his museum in Amherst and met him, and he signed the noisy cricket or something. The very quiet cricket. We still have it. And he signed it, and I thought he was sort of a grouch, and I thought he wasn't very nice, and I didn't really like his work. I have completely fallen hook, line, and sinker for him lately. I'm reading this book a lot to my granddaughter, who's only 10.5 months. I have come to really admire the way he makes the animals, and I think they're incredibly beautiful. He painted all his own paper. I've watched tons of little films of him making art, and he would make art. He would paint papers for days and days and days, that felt like lion, like the colors of lions. He'd look at lions, he'd read about lions, and then he would look at the way the fur moved, and he'd make the papers for days or weeks. And then he would make the collages really quickly. And boy, he's such a loose artist. I love these geese. I think this is an incredible, beautiful geese. I want to show you. I want to go back to the lion, because there's a lion that's painted, and then there's a lion that's collaged. And I think they're uncomparable. And I think the green collaged lion is so much more strong than this little painted fella. If you look at this rabbit is incredibly beautiful. The painting feels like fur. It feels, the brush stroke inside of this rabbit is just so gorgeous. Oh man, so I've learned a lot about him, and I'm very excited. I'm really excited about this class. We're gonna do 2 animals in class. We're gonna do, I'm just seeing who's coming on. I'm so excited, I can't tell you. We're gonna do 1 bird, because I thought I'm pretty sure Helen will come to this class. We're gonna do a swallow, which is hard to see in this picture. Can you see better? It's got a lot of color in it, actually. We're gonna do a swallow, and we're gonna do a fish. But oh my God, what a wonderful artist. What an amazing artist. I'll show you one of my fish. That's my copy of him. I just put it on Instagram. This guy is so tricky. He looks easy. It looks easy. It is so not easy to do an error. I thought, oh, this will be really fun. It'll be really easy. It was like not easy at all. Like really hard. All right, well, I'm really excited about this. It's just turning 4. There are probably a couple more people coming on. I've been showing this book to my granddaughter every day. I had never seen it before. Of course, I have tons of his books. But I don't know. My granddaughter just loves this book so much, and I am poring over it every single day I show it to her. And I have fallen in love with this man's work, and I will be talking about his life because it's absolutely fascinating. And I want to just show you, we're just looking at I want you just to notice before we start that he's collaging parts of the animals down. So there's this wonderful freedom of the shapes it's really what Matisse did in his blue figures, those beautiful blue figures of women sitting. And maybe I should just grab my Matisse book to show you what I mean. So that's what I'm talking about, when the cracks are very beautiful in this work. The cracks are like lines. And Matisse called it drawing with scissors. Well, Eric Carle is really doing the same thing. Like there's a lot of these little cracks, and he works really quickly. I've watched all kinds of little movies with him lately. He's working very, very fast. when he makes the collages. He spends a lot of time in the studio painting papers, and he might research camels and look at them, look at pictures, look at movies of camels, maybe, you know, really research, and then spend days painting paper, really musing and sort of contemplating that animal. Okay, I'm not going to show you too much of this, but I just kind of wanted to do some of it. I actually met Eric Carle. I took my kids when they were little to his museum in Amherst, and he was signing books. This is about 25 years ago, and he was grouchy, and I thought his work was kind of stupid. I really didn't like his work. I thought it was just so rudimentary. I'm such a snob, of course. And now I love his work. I don't know, I've fallen in love with it. I see it really differently. Like, this crane is absolutely gorgeous. And we're going to do some of these techniques. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to start, and of course, he's mostly famous for the very hungry caterpillar, but this is also the very quiet cricket, which is the book I have that he signed. But this is a very beautiful and famous story, the one about the cricket. Okay, so we can't really wait to paint, because if we're going to make animals with some of our paintings, we got to get the painting done because the stuff has to dry. So the first thing I'm going to start with is I'm going to show you his technique of painting tissue paper. Now, do not worry if you don't have tissue paper. This is going to be part of the class, me showing the very complicated and rather hard technique of painting tissue paper, because it's so darn thin. It's incredibly thin. And so what happens is, if you can get one layer of acrylic paint on tissue paper without messing up, because you will find it's really easy to mess up these little sheets of paper when you're trying to lift them and put them on the newspaper on the floor. But if you can get one coat of paint on them, when it dries, you can do a second coat, and then you can work with tools to make patterns. So I'm going to take a color. I'm going to take a rather wide brush and my water. He's very messy. Let's see. Let's just start with a yellow. I'm just going to put, we're going to be very rudimentary today. No fancy dancy stuff. And if you want to mute, we'll just have a quieter class. Okay, so I'm just going to mix up this yellow. I've dipped my brush into the waters, and he does not use acrylic right out of the tube. He waters it down a bit. And then I'm going to paint very quickly. And this is really tricky, because if you have too much paint on the brush, it takes too long to dry. And then for this class, we won't be able to use this paper. But if we get going, it's only 4:05. It will dry. It'll take 15 minutes to dry. So we'll be able to use some of these papers today. I'm also going to probably get you to grab some of the papers you have. Now, this is the really tricky part. I'm going to get a piece of newspaper off the floor. I'm going to just put it next to where I'm sitting. And I'm going to try to pick this up. And this is what is going to drive everybody completely nuts. But I'm going to lift it up quickly. If you leave this on the piece of paper, it will stick and you'll never get it off. And then I'm going to gently put it on my newspaper. And I'm getting pretty good at this. And this is what just happened to me. The corner came off on my hand. And I've been doing this for 3 days. And I've learned how to do it, but it's really hard to do. You don't have to collage with tissue paper. I'm just showing you his technique, which is what he mostly did. I don't think he only used tissue paper, because I have found other kinds of papers in his collages. But I think he liked, and you can see how I kind of messed up. So, but it's fairly good. I got some of it. So I'm going to put this on the floor to dry. You have to be careful not to walk on your tissue paper, which you have drying on the floor. Because that's another problem. Okay, now I'm going to put another piece of tissue paper down, and I'm not going to be very careful about the yellow. And I'm going to take my yellow brush, And I think I'm going to grab a very bright orange. I'm not being that careful. I'm very excited because I think you guys are going to love some of these techniques. And I've got a few people who've ordered the class and they want the recording. And I just think I think it's going to be really fun. I think it's a little too much paint. I want to make sure I have kind of a watered down. It's just really hard to explain because it can't have too much thick paint and it can't have too much water. It has to be kind of just right. That's so hard to tell you on Zoom how to get it just right. But this is going to be, you know, it's kind of tricky to make Eric Carle paper. That first layer on tissue paper is just tough. Okay, I'm going to get my piece of newspaper off the floor. And I'm going to see if I can lift it off, see if I can do some of it in front of you. You have to do it quickly because it's going to stick to the paper. And I can't seem to, can barely do it without having it just toward just the corner. So start to tear it, you can see, but that's, now I'm going to put that on the floor. I put the newspaper down on the floor and then the other piece of painted tissue paper sort of flew up and started sticking. You know, it's very hard to do this. Okay, now I'm going to get a very bright, just using really bright colors, bright green.
Alexandra, it's Martha. I just came in from the guy.
The window replacement guy.
Oh, guess what? I have to bring it in to have it replaced, but never mind. That's not important. I see you're working with the jelly pad.
No jelly. It's just tissue paper.
Oh, that was tissue paper. It looks like jelly pad for
me. So
right.
I'm just using some bright colors on tissue paper. It's very hard to paint tissue paper without getting all smudged. And keep in mind that Eric Carle was messy and not very thorough, and there's often little cracks of unpainted paper. I love his messiness. I love his looseness. I have completely changed my snobby attitude toward Eric Carle. I really didn't love his work when my kids were reading his books, and when I met him, I thought they were kind of dumb, and now I think they're amazing. How's that for a change? Okay, now I'm going to get my newspaper. We have to get some paper done so it can dry. Okay, that was really good. That went on really well, but it's not a perfect science. Now, there is an alternative. If you just happen to not have tissue paper, you can get some ordinary sketch paper. So I have some ordinary sketch paper, and now I'm going to paint some ordinary sketch paper, and I'm just going to show you again. I squish some paint on here. I add some water from my brush. And then I very quickly paint this. If you with a paint that's watered down, it'll dry quickly. And that's what we sort of need. Now, what's going to happen to you is you're going to go, hey, I don't have to make so many papers. I have tons of painted paper, so I'm going to look through them tomorrow and make some cool animals with the painted papers I already have. And see, you know, oh, that one feels kind of like a fox fur. Okay, so now I'm going to put this somewhere. Now, it's really fun to take an orange and change it to a fuchsia. Maybe I'll add some magenta to it. I'll just add some old quinacridone magenta. It's really fun to use these fluorescent colors on Zoom because they are so violently bright, and Zoom sort of deadens colors a little bit, just a little bit, because it's, I don't know why. And so it's kind of fun for me to have a super bright color on Zoom. So this is what's really nice about just taking your little orange and mixing another color into it. If it's streaky, all the better. It's okay. Remember, you just don't have to be perfect at all. And guess what? This is going to be really fun to make abstract shapes. You do not have to do animals today. I'm going to do one abstract shape at some point today because I don't think you have to make animals, although I love the animals. Love them. And I'm now thinking of taking an old children's book, a board book, and collaging some of my little animals onto it for Marin for Christmas, and for Kelly, my other grandson, my grandchild. Like, wouldn't it be so cool to take a children's board book and then just sort of redo it for a child with your own pictures, your own collages? All right, so very interesting how this paper is starting to look. This is starting to look quite lovely, right? But I'm not going to pay attention to that right now. Oops. I put something on my green. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit more tissue. I'll do another tissue paper. And I think I'm gonna add this yellow. Oh, maybe I'll just take what's on my brush. So this will be kind of a different color. Like a really beautiful orange. So Libby, we're painting tissue paper, but tissue paper is very, very strange and hard to paint because it's going to stick to the surface under it. You have to have a piece of newspaper standing by, and I'm just going to demonstrate doing that. It's very tricky to do this. If you leave it on your table longer, it will stick. And actually, I just noticed a new technique, which is to not paint the top so that my fingers didn't screw it up. But I love this piece. It's got kind of some schmutz on it in green. This is a nice piece. And I'm going to now paint a little bit more regular paper. And maybe I'll do a deep green. And I love to not have to wash brushes. So put that deep green in here. Makes a gorgeous green. I kind of want it to be more like forest. So I'm going to put a little bit of brown, a little bit of dark brown in there. Make it a little foresty. Ooh, nice and dark green. It looks like black on the camera, but it's quite green for me. So I'm painting it. It's got quite a lot of water in it. It's going to dry quickly because we sort of have to have these papers dry quickly so we can go on to the next step. Much easier to paint regular paper. And it's really fun to just use all these really bright colors. I think I've talked to you all about how sometimes in the middle of winter, I do really tropical candy colors because you kind of do, sometimes you paint what you sort of need more in your life, you know, more light and color. Okay, I'm going to do one teal. I'm going to do a teal. This is a very favorite color. This is phthalo blue and phthalo green, which I walked off by mistake with this phthalo green from Snow Farm. Phthalo green is not one of my very favorite colors, but I love mixing it to make good colors for the Caribbean. So phthalo green. So I'm going to mix that with phthalo blue. I've put too much paint on here. I think because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a beautiful turquoise. So I'm going to put some white. 1 part white to 2 parts each of the phthalos makes a very beautiful color. So I've got my phthalo and my phthalo blue, both the phthalos, and I'm going to mix them up and look at this color. It's just amazingly pretty. And I might lighten that in a minute, but I'm going to do 1 sheet of paper with this. And I'm just going to make sure I don't have too much paint on my brush. So I just dipped the brush in the water just to make it a little more light. Just because of time, I'm thinking about drying time. And if you have heat on in your house, that's great because that'll help the paper dry faster. I turn it off in the studio because the fan is so loud when the heat comes on. I don't like to teach with it. And I forget about my body temperature because I'm so excited. Okay. I'm gonna let this dry somewhere.
Alexandra, I'm still trying to figure out the order that you did things. Your catch-all, is that going to be the background of your piece, or is it just beautiful?
It's just a catch-all. Isn't that great? I know. This is and this is from painting on tissue paper. It bleeds through. It makes gorgeous right. Paper. I know. It's just
the paper is to the side to dry, and that's what you're going to use for the collage. I got it.
Yes. Yeah. So that's why I'm kind of in a hurry to get some stuff painted because it's tricky in a 2.5-hour class to need to paint papers. But I'm going to show you shortcuts. I'm going to do 1 lighter teal and put some of my water on there. So when you're mixing a beautiful color and then you go, oh, my water's dirty. Well, it's not going to make that much of a difference if you really blend your color. But if I was mixing a really light yellow, with white in it, like a butter yellow, then I might change my water. So sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Okay, cool. I've got some paint on here already. Well, I'll just go right over it. No, I just want that nice balance of kind of wet, but not too watery, but not too thick. So it's going to dry fast. And, this is not such a concern if I was working with you all day, because then we could let these paint, dry and go to lunch and come back and then do the second coat. And then at 4 o'clock, like in a Snow Farm class. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to stop pinning paper, and I know I'm going very fast, and that's always a little bit of a problem because nobody can really keep up. I mean, nobody should even have to keep up, but I have to kind of stay ahead of the groove a little bit. Okay, so what do I do with this now? Do I save this for later? Probably, because it kind of looks like an Eric Carle. But why don't we do something completely crazy? I'm going to show you something he might do. Now, this is a little thing that makes polka dots. I did not see any tools like this in any of the movies of Eric Carle making paper. He would make polka dots with a paintbrush. He was very low tech. The most I saw him use for patterns were little chunks of carpet that he got from the carpet store for free. Little kind of funny little nubby things that he would put paint on and then make these really funny patterns. But I'm going to use this one because why not? I'm going to use it. I'm just going to show you how kind of fun it is to take. Let's take a red. I always have to have pliers by my table because I've got the older woman hands that can't always do things very well anymore. That was always true of me, though. Always kind of. Okay, I'm just gonna show you. I know you don't have this, but I just want to show you that this paper that's a catch-all could have a pattern put on it. And that's kind of a pretty little thing that might be a great paper for a bird or a fish. You can get much more creative and make your own things to pattern with. And I really think that's what Eric Carle did. He did mostly paintbrush, little polka dots and things. This might be fun in a fish. I'm just also letting you catch up painting your paper. I don't want to move along too fast. I keep you busy. I'll say that much for me. So now I'll just put this paper aside and that I'll let dry, and we'll use it for the animals in a little while. I'm just going to illustrate something. This is a direction. I'm going to take a piece of my own painted paper, which is dry, because I just want to illustrate to you something where we're going with this. So this is a piece of turquoise painted paper. And now I'm going to take, let's see here. I really like using the big brushes. I'm not using any small brushes today. They're all these, 2-inch brushes. I'm going to take some Prussian blue. And maybe just the smallest dab of white, because Prussian blue looks almost black on Zoom. It kind of looks black anyway, but it's a beautiful deep blue. I'm going to mix it with a little bit of water. So keep in mind that Eric Carle was very messy and he didn't always mix things very well. So sometimes things are very streaky, and that's actually part of the charm of his work. And I will be talking about his life when we're kind of launched, because I got really into learning about him. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit more Prussian blue because I want a little bit darker. It looks much lighter to me than what you're seeing on the screen. I don't know why that happens. Okay, so now I'm going to get, there's a few things I could get. I'm going to get a bone folder, or I could get the end of a paintbrush. I really do this with anything. Okay, so now I'm going to put my paint, I'm getting it nice, and I'm putting a layer of paint over a dried surface. And I can either use my bone folder. Now these are very beautiful on birds' wings, as we will learn in a minute. These beautiful lines. I could use the paintbrush. And sometimes I have sometimes I wipe off the end as I do it, but I don't even know if that's necessary. Actually, it's not even necessary. I don't like the thickness of her. I like the thickness of the bone folder, but I can turn the bone folder on another angle. Now, isn't that so beautiful? That's actually really beautiful. And what we're going to do is we're going to use that. We're going to use something like this to make some of the wings on a swallow we're going to do today. I did this yesterday, and it's very different. I think it's so gorgeous. I think that's really beautiful paper. And the water was a little runnier, and then I did this on some old, I did this on some paper that I found in my studio. I did dark brown wet paint over a dried piece of paper, and then I just went crazy with making these marks. Okay, so right now my orange is actually dried, so we could do this right now. And I have to think about what color I would want to put on top. Do I want to put blue? That could be really cool. Maybe what I'll do is I'll cut this in half and I'll do half of it blue. So this is not the tissue paper. This is ordinary sketch paper, any kind of paper that I've painted orange. I'm just gonna see how this works on this. Remember, I don't want the paint too thick today because then we won't be able to use it. But we'll need things to dry. And there's a lot of imperfections, which I really noticed that about his work. Like, don't worry if it gets smushed. It's all part of it. Oh my God, he makes things so funky. They're so funked out. And they're so beautifully put together, the shapes later. Now, this is already drying. So I'm starting to not get already drying. So you have to work really fast on this kind of surface. I don't really like my fingerprints that much. And of course, if we get into doing greens, you get into making grasses. And he just loved making grasses and all kinds of cool papers that really feel like meadows and places for animals to. Yeah, I knew we had to do a bird today because I knew Helen would probably be in this class. And I just thought, even if she isn't, I'm going to still do it. I'll just send her the recording.
Oh, I'm here.
Yeah, I know. It's like oh God, I don't know what it is. I think I'm kind of a simpleton because I know it's kind of an easy process, the way he makes collages, but I feel like I learned something completely new and different this time. I mean, it just feels different to me. Okay, so I see I have a piece of paper here that's just lying around my studio. And what if I put a dark green on this and made some stipple? I have to add more paint. You can't do it with too watered down paint. Let's see how much paint I have. This is a small piece of paper. Maybe will do. But this is interesting that it dries so darn fast.
Alexandra,
yeah.
I'm working on wet strength tissue paper and it doesn't stick and it doesn't matter how much water you have.
Oh my God. What kind is it?
Wet strength tissue.
Oh my God. See, you're driving me crazy because you're the one that told me about acid-free. So I finally bought the acid-free tissue, and now there's another kind. Wet strength tissue paper.
Yeah, I love paper, so I'm always looking out for,
That's so hilarious because I was like so proud of myself. I finally got the acid-free tissue paper, and now I don't have the wet strength tissue paper. I'm always behind the 8 ball, Ellen.
Well, you gotta check in with me more often.
Well, this could be kind of a cool thing for like a little grasshopper grass, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so that's a very awesome technique. I also love what happens sometimes on the paper. All right. We have to get a little more painting done. There has to be painting done because, and then we'll get into me showing you how to do animals. Okay, so here is, let's try this on tissue paper. It's just going to be a very different experience because it's, look at this. It's almost, I don't have the wet strength tissue paper. I just, what can I say? All right, what color should I put on there? Maybe I'll put a green.
What did Eric Carle use?
He used tissue paper and it was non-acid free and it was non-wet strength. It was just old-fashioned graphic paper. Okay, I'm gonna do some of my paint and I'm just gonna see how this works on a piece of this.
Is that tissue paper you're working on now?
Yes, yes, this is tissue paper. Now, I could have never in a million years done this unless it had the green. Okay, it wouldn't have worked because it would have just torn. I mean, unless I had Ellen's fancy dancy tissue paper. But you know, this is like we're walking in the footsteps of Eric Carle. So he loved the transparency. And in a minute, I'll show you the book and all the transparent colors. What else should I put on here? Oops. See, I'm getting messed up here. Ooh. Oh. Yeah, it's so easy to mess these papers up. Maybe I'll just save some of the green. And so that's a nice piece of paper to have. I'll put this aside. Oh, it keeps wiping over on itself. I can't even put it down without it like, oh. I think it's very hard. I think the tissue paper is hard to use. Okay, here's another one. Okay, so now let's do something a little bit different. Marjorie, you're gonna get the I can send you the recording for what you missed because we've been painting tissue paper and it's and now we're doing different things to it. I'm gonna take my spray paws and I'm just gonna do some drawings on here. I wouldn't use colored pencils because I think they'd go right through. I'm just gonna draw on here a little bit just for fun. Maybe some colors. I don't even know really why I'm doing that. I felt like it. Because I've been studying him and this is how he works. And then what if I took some I'm looking for burnt sienna. Takes me a while to find it. I'm going to get some burnt sienna. Yeah, I don't know how to catch you up, Marjorie. It's so hard, but I'm going to take, this has been kind of fun. Okay, yeah, I know. I don't know how to, I can recap at a certain point when we're on the, I can catch you up on the break, which is in 35 minutes. Okay, I'm just going to take some paint now and I'm just going to kind of do something on here. spending a lot of time in the studio painting papers, okay? And I don't know, the orange makes me think of sunset. But you know, you can get whimsical and you can make animals out of colors that don't make any sense, like, you know, have a totally bright purple lion or something, or use interesting papers. And then maybe I'll take a completely different color, like a light turquoise. Why not? Maybe a little bit more. Get a smaller brush, or, oh, I have a great idea. Okay, I'm gonna get a toothbrush. I'm gonna put some paint on my, you know, get a nice creamy thing going with this color. It's okay if I'm messy. If it's okay if it goes all over the place, doesn't matter. So I've got a nice creamy color here. I'm gonna make it a tiny bit thicker. And then I'm gonna show you how to speckle. Oh, so, oops. See, I just did that by mistake. And that goes into the art, which is fantastic. And now I'm gonna, this has to be fluid enough. I'm just gonna do some speckles on here. Goes everywhere, of course. It's all over the studio now, all over my iPad. That's nothing new. Okay, and then maybe, because these crayons are really good with wet on wet, although I don't know, maybe this will screw things up completely. I think this is in danger of actually going through the paper, but I'm doing it anyway. Here's. No, I just stopped caring about anything being perfect. I just like the experience anyway. Eric Carle talks about just how peaceful he feels when he's making things. And it just brings peace to his heart. Just, you know, now this, you could have never done this on a piece of tissue paper unless it had that paint on it that we let dry. Okay, you just couldn't, because it would have fallen apart unless you have a different kind of tissue paper. But we're doing it the Eric Carle style. And then maybe, just for fun, no, if I add green to this, it feels like Christmas. I can't do it. That always really bothers me.
Yeah.
His work is very raw. It's very raw, and there's something that's very unrefined really about it. And then you bring in these gorgeous drawings, and then you make collages from the drawings, and then there's something combined with the unrefined painting, and then the beautiful animal shapes, and then the way he throws together the collages quickly. Unbelievable artist, really. Okay, I'm going to cut. Everything is now nice and dry. I'm going to take, this is not on tissue, it's just on regular there. Now, what if now I take this wonderful color, cover that, and then I scratch. I don't know what I could actually scratch with this palette thing. And you know, you might find that you're throwing together an animal that has, you can find movements in the paper that feel like the animal. That's so cool. I can't help but just throw something, just getting, you just start doing these things. And I'm just going to put some dots on just the edge. Just going to do the edge here. And I'm kind of loving the dots. So, it would be really cool. I think I just have to do this now. I think I have to take this and cover it again. Means I have to mix a little bit more. And I'm just really think those dots look cool on something else. Okay, so you get the paint, so it's a little watered down. You've got your, and by the way, you can do this. Oh no. I'm wearing my really good gym clothes and I just got paint all over them. Oh well, time to get some more, I guess. I can't be trusted with any clothes ever. Just hopeless. Okay, so there's that tricky place, like how much water in the paint? Now I'm going to do my dot. It's just over a plain surface. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do a little bit more Prussian blue just because it's right next to my arm. So we are in sort of a, crazy race to make paper so we can make the animals. Okay, I'm just going to leave that. And I'm also going to show you, you can walk around your house, you can look for weird things like this. This was really good. I have this in some box. I have no idea even what it is, but I'll show you what it does. Like patterning with really funky things. I personally don't love to use lots of things that other people have made. I like to find trash, cardboard. And that's what Eric Carle definitely did. Kind of found his own. Let's put this down. Now that could actually be really good on fish because it kind of looks like fish, right? Kind of looks like the skin of a fish. So I'll just finish that. Oops, did that wrong. It's so beautiful. That is so beautiful. That is like gold for, making animals later. It's just really pretty. Right now I am going to, maybe I'll just show one more thing with this because this is pretty cool. Our turquoise paper is dry. So I'm going to put this on a piece of this. And then I'm going to find, well, I might as well just do this one because it's a good contrast. You would not want to put, a color that didn't contrast. So this is much lighter. And I'm really bad at this. I'm much too impatient. I don't do these very well. I do them very messily. In fact, but when that's dry, that might be good for a fish. Now, I can try to be better about it, but I don't know if it's really possible. Let's see. I'll just try and be a little bit neater. Pretty nice paper. And it really could look good for an iguana or something. A beautiful iguana. What's going to be really fun is you're now going to want to go through your stocks of painted paper and see which ones look like they could be part of some fantastic animal or insect. But at the same time, you could just go, I'm going to make some abstract shapes, which I will be covering that today. I think I'm going to let that dry. Okay, this is the part of the class where I want to show you the papers I've made for the past couple of days. And of course, you can watch this later. Keep working, because I know you're all working, but I'm gonna go get them. So let's just reiterate, you cannot do a second color on plain tissue paper unless you have painted it first, and it's very hard to paint because it's so delicate. But Ellen knows about something called fresh, water strength tissue paper or something. Something like that.
It's called wet strength tissue paper. You can also paint on matte medium first on the tissue paper, let it dry. It'll be sturdy.
Okay. But since we are doing it in the way he did it, the way Eric Carle, he just used ordinary tissue paper. But once you get one coat of paint dried on tissue paper, then it's easy to go in and start to do some cool things. I didn't do that many things. I did paintbrushes. I did this was one of my first scrape throughs, and it was very unsuccessful because I was learning. I had to learn how he did it. This is just using the end to make my polka dots, and this really feels like his paper because he just used the end of a paintbrush. He used a lot of these weird carpet scraps. I love that one. And then I got into making the art. And there's another frog. And I tried really hard to do this guy, a jaguar, and it was really hard, and it took like 5 hours to make all the papers, and then it's really not very good. But I learned a lot by doing it, and that's, if I'm emulating another artist, it takes me days to get it down. This really feels like him, this kind of paper, just really messy. You could just see him using this with a caterpillar in there. Very messy, lots of colored pencils or crayons. He loved crayons. I'm using these Caran d'Ache guys, which I don't know where the box is. Somewhere around here. They're the water soluble. They're called Neo Color Aquarelle, and I love them. I also concentrated on making some paper that would be really good for an animal, because there's so many animals that Carle is doing. And a lot of speckling with the paintbrush, a lot of speckling. Starting to play with the darks and lights to maybe make some greenery. I was really thinking about making some really cool greenery because there's so much, animals are in nature a lot in the green. And then I needed just some plain painted tissue papers. And I got into purple for the heads of the fish, which we're going to do in a minute. You can use, these are my catch-alls, which are just gorgeous. This is the same catch-all as this with a wash of color put over it. So I've just put a wash of color over it. And I might just show you that right now, because we have some beautiful catch-alls that we're doing. If I take, let's see what would be a good color. Take a red. I just want very little on my brush. I don't even need any more paint. I can just dip it in the water. Of course, this is going to dry really fast. And actually, that kind of is a little too strong. When you've done something like that, you can clean it off. I got a sponge. Make it a little less strong. Gets to be a gorgeous, gorgeous catch-all. How's that for a sunset for an animal? You could have an animal snake wrapped around a tree at dusk in the country. Kind of looks like something like that. So that's a great trick. You put a wash of color over a catch-all and it makes a gorgeous ground. Okay. All right. I know I'm super lickety split fast. So you're painting papers, you're putting a second coat of paint over some of the papers and making some kind of a, we're not going to cover too many techniques. I can't throw 10 ways to put patterns on paper at you in 2.5 hours. I can throw 3 or 4. Don't want to overwhelm. Now I kind of want to put a lime green on top of that. Maybe I'll do that. Oh, actually have some colors. I have one lime green coming up that I mixed yesterday. So I'll get. It's going to do one more thing here on this one. Messy, fast. All right, I am going to just figure out how messy my situation is here now, because we're going to actually do some drawing in a second. Excuse me. I have a hair clip that broke today, and this would make a cool pattern, raking this through the paint. So that I will keep that in the future.
How can your paper hold up on mine? I have like wrapping tissue paper and it's just totally disintegrated. I couldn't draw.
Okay, so yeah, so that's okay. So this is my piece of paper that I could barely paint without it deteriorating, but it's much stronger with this paint on it. It just is. It's much stronger now.
Yeah, but mine isn't going to dry quickly enough to be able to.
Excuse me. So, all right. So I did this at like 4:10. And these are really dry. But you know what? This is, I'm working very quickly. Your paint might be a little bit thick. So it's completely deteriorated. Do you want to show me?
Yeah, I guess I could.
Let's just look.
I don't know if I can. I'm using a computer today.
Oh God, I've just got the cough. I'm just gonna remove spotlight. Hold on, I just gotta do it one more time. Okay, so it isn't working.
Not really. I mean, it's still wet, and I've done a couple of them, and then I finally started using.
Okay, that it's just too. You're working on too big a sheet. It's too big.
I also have trace paper. I don't know how that's going to work, but
well, we're also painting regular sketch paper.
Okay, I did that too, but I mean, I painted some, but we'll see.
You have to figure out in this class, because we have such a limited time, you have to kind of have that right, amount of paint on the paper so it dries quickly. And I know it's really tricky for people at home. If I was in a class with you, I could, we could just get it right, but it's so hard to do that. But anyway, this becomes much stronger and much easier to use. And it's really, I can do stuff on it. Like I can just put a little bit of this on it. And then maybe I have this really silly little pie thing. Libby knows about these because,
Oh,
yeah, these are really cute. So if I put this in paint,
that's for sewing. Like you buy them at a place that sells material.
so I'm just going to dip this. And it makes these really cool lines. Actually, they're really beautiful. I'm not doing it very well because I'm spilling it and everything, but I'll see. I'm going to hold it up to the camera because they're really cool looking. So yeah, you get these in sewing stores. It has something to do with sewing, right?
Yeah, you use it to trace onto tracing papers or tracing patterns and stuff.
I mean, that's going to go really nicely on the animal. And maybe I'll put some on the yellow too. I would have never been able to do this unless the tissue paper had paint on it. There's so much paint in this. It's so funny how it just keeps working. I love everything I make in terms of making the animals. And we're going to start them in just a minute. But we needed, and look through your piles of stuff. You don't have to have fresh painted stuff. There's a lot of, you all have some really cool painted papers already. So I have a lot of toothbrushes in my studio. I use them a lot. Oh no, I just put it all over my iPad. Oh my God, tons of it. Well, it's all right. Okay, so it's another cool piece of paper, and I'll put that aside. I have to look at my hands. They're completely crazy. Whew. All right, so the next thing in order. We do have a break in 15 minutes. All right, I'm gonna get some paper because I'm going to show you some drawings, and then we're going to do some drawings, and then we're going to make some animals. We need to have all the time after 5:15 to work on the animals. Okay, so I can just talk to you about Eric Carle while you work on your papers, but the papers really should be done by the break, which is in 15 minutes, and really as soon as possible. And then look for other painted papers you might have. You can also use magazines, and this is an example of me not wanting to show people that you can take color from a magazine. This was red, and I painted this brown on top and scratched through it, and that's pretty beautiful paper. That's just on a magazine, so that's pretty cool. You can do it on a magazine. So if time is a problem with letting the red paper dry, this was just red paper from a magazine page. I wanted you to see that. Okay, so Eric Carle was born in 1929, June 25th, in Syracuse, New York. His mother was German. She was from Stuttgart, which is actually where my mother's family was from, in Germany. And his mother wanted to take the family back to Germany when he was 6. And he really missed the States, but it was very beautiful in Stuttgart. And they lived in a big apartment building with all the other families. And there was lots of fighting and loving, and it was very busy. It was this big building. I saw a picture of it, a big sort of apartment house with like 7 apartments, and his family lived in one of them. He has lots of fond memories of looking through not looking, walking outside of Stuttgart in meadows and parks and fields with his dad. And his dad loved nature. And he also remembered that from being in Syracuse, spending time walking, looking under rocks at little creatures. And his father would say, always make sure you put the rock back because even a little termite is important and has value. And he just grew up with this immense love of animals. Well, World War II came along and his father was conscripted into the German army and then was captured in the Soviet Union and put into a prison camp. And then he was there for years. And when he came out, when the dad came out, he was really, really kind of broken. Came back, he weighed 85 pounds and he was never the same. And it was an ugly situation. Eric's mother was wonderful. And really honored Eric's love of drawing. Eric ended up going to a wonderful art school in Stuttgart, the School of Fine Arts, which I've heard of before, because I had a great grandfather who went there. And he just pined to come back to America. And he came back in his early 20s, got a job as an artist, a graphic designer for the New York Times. And then he eventually opened his own ad agency. And then another artist wanted to collaborate with him on a book. He was already in his 30s, late 30s. He was almost 40. And they made a book called something like Brown Bear. Oh, I have the name of it. Yeah. Brown Bear, What Do You See? It was in 1967. It became a huge hit. And after that, he did The Very Hungry Caterpillar, which catapulted him into just major fame. And there's a picture of it. And, you know, he says right here, I think in my books, I honor my father by writing about small living things. And in a way, I recapture those happy times. Yeah, he just, I think they're very loving. And I just want you to look at how gorgeous his drawings are. They're very, very beautiful. And, you know, this is somebody who spent a lifetime, you know, like 40, he died when he was 91, 2 years ago. He spent like 50 years on this work about animals. And I think he was even probably, so here you have that beautiful paper with all those kind of scratch marks in it. We've just been doing that. It really fits with this feeling. He's also going in and doing a little bit of drawing sometimes. He sometimes adds a little bit of drawing, not always. I'll show you where he adds drawing. It's hard to see where he adds drawing. Well, the drawing's kind of over the shark. Adding quite a lot of drawing in here. Often the eyes have a little smush of a pastel, a black pastel. And this is just because I watched him work in all these little YouTube movies because he became a really big star. But look at that beautiful gull. I mean, how gorgeous is that? I'm going to show you two different ways that he cut the shapes out. And I love this rabbit. I think it's absolutely exquisite. I think it has a feel of a rabbit stretching, and the paint is even kind of stretched out. He's found a big brush stroke that's right in there, and it differentiates right where the arms come down, and then it changes direction. So he's really, you know, matching the painted paper with the feel of the animal. Very beautiful way. He had 2 kids. And he started a museum in Amherst, which is on the Hampshire College campus. It's the Eric Carle Museum. And I went there and I didn't like his work. I thought his work was kind of dumb. I was just so snobby. And now I just love it. I don't know. I just really, really love it. I mean, look how beautiful this bird is. Let's just look at the parrot. So you see the pattern in there? Let's see. You can kind of see how he scratched in to make feathers. And then I think he painted, I don't know, did he paint those dots? It's also thrown together really quickly. Do you see that space between the wing and the body? And that gives it this gorgeous loose feeling. I love these birds here. All right, so we're gonna do an animal and we're gonna start with a fish. And I have chosen a fish and I've made the fish. And now I don't know where the fish went. Where did he go? Okay, well, I can show you the drawing I did for the fish. Because we're not gonna be able to work really tiny. It's too hard. So I've done a whole bunch of drawings of fish and I've done them on deli paper. I'm going to take this book away, but first I'll show you the fish I got really inspired by. These guys, it's a little hard for you to see them. I'll see if I can hold it up even more. I got really inspired by these, and everyone is different. He didn't do one fish and then have them, photographer, like every fish. They're all done separately, which is very impressive. All right, so we have a break in just a couple of minutes, but I'm kind of bummed I can't find my fish. It's okay, we'll make one. We'll make a fish. So I have all this I have lots of deli paper, a big box of deli paper, and I find it works there. It's just like trace. So here are my fish. I'm going to show you another thing. So this was me kind of getting ready to do some of the Eric Carle fish and having fun with colored pencils, which was totally awesome. I just had so much fun doing this. They were so fun. I just love doing these. And somehow I lost the fish in the studio. Well, it's somewhere here. Okay. All right, so how to start this? Okay, for one thing, you can trace an animal, but if you trace a Eric Carle animal, they're going to be really small and they're going to be really hard to make. Very hard to make these too small, So I think this is a good size for us to do on Zoom. I think this is a really good size. So I'm going to take the tape off. And I might just trace my own animal because I'm lazy. So I've been drawing about 20 fish today. And everybody can make. He was very inexact. Remember what I say. There's a lot of things don't always line up. They're very raw.
Are you sketching on tissue paper?
It's on deli paper, which is the equivalent. No, it is not tissue paper. It is either trace or when I'm using deli, but deli is exactly like trace.
Okay, so if I use tracing paper, then that's
Perfect.
okay.
It's perfect. Yeah. Okay, so there's, oops, the eye. You can do it a little bit differently. But there's a basic fish. We're just going to do a very basic fish because I want you to learn how he made things. So just do a basic fish. I think that's a great basic fish. But I do need to just storm through my pile to find. Oh, I gotta find the fish because it's kind of important to me. Oh, man. I think it's gonna be sort of my model. But I guess I'm not gonna have a model anymore. Oh, I think I found him. Here he is. So he's a little bit different, but I found my fish. Okay, so you're gonna have a little picture of a fish. I need to look at the fish. I did see Eric Carle using a lot of tweezers. He would cut each section of the animal at a time. Now, I want to make sure I have a piece of paper that will fit the fish, because I'm going to glue the fish onto paper. Or I could glue the fish onto a painted paper, but I think we're going to keep it very simple. Okay, so I'm going to show you two different ways he did this. And one way will require a cutting board, like it's a cutting board, and a utility knife. Guess what Eric Carle used? He used a razor blade. He held a razor blade and he didn't have a fancy dancy X-Acto blade. I have some of these guys. Okay, I'm going to start with the head. And I'm going to do a purple tissue paper head. Now, you might want to ask, like, why did he like tissue paper? And I think I should just quickly show you why. So, because the caterpillar really illustrates why he loved, oh man, it's got some paint on the book. Caterpillar, oh, alphabetical. So when he made the caterpillar, each section overlaps and the trace paper is translucent. And so he really loves this overlapping. The overlapping creates translucence, okay? And by the way, the little funny little hairs on the caterpillar are all drawn with colored pencils. He's adding that. So he likes the overlapping. Also on the elephant, there's a really nice overlapping. I don't know if I can find it that fast. E, F. Okay, you can see the overlapping in this one a lot. The overlapping of translucent papers is quite beautiful. Really beautiful, kind of funky painted papers. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my trace paper over here, and you don't have to be good at this. Like, I'm not good at this. I'm very messy. I'm not that great. I'm not like one of these masters who can cut things out. There's two different ways to do this, but in this case, he's doing it like this. The funkier, the better. And then all you abstract artists, you can start making completely different crazy shapes and just see how it adds a different touch to your work. And I'm promising an abstract shape. He was constantly doing them very imperfectly. Okay, and I'm gonna put I just have to make sure this is gonna fit on there. Is that gonna fit on there? Just, okay. I like to just get things done one at a time. So I'm gonna put my glue stick on here. Not that easy to put glue stick on these little tissue paper things. They can get really wrinkled up and funky. And actually it might be easier to put the glue stick on the piece of paper. I think that is easier. It's okay if it gets messed up because that's kind of the look.
So you're cutting out the pieces of the fish.
And that's exactly his technique. Yes. So it's very important because that gives kind of this weird life, just like Matisse. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't do this middle part. I like how the fish is kind of two-toned. I'm going to give it a two-tone. Okay, so now I need a color for, I'll do the top of the fish. Do this. Maybe I'll just do this kind of colorful thing up here. I've got the cutting board under me. And then everything is so imperfect. And that's the beauty of his collages. They're very imperfect, but they're masterful all at the same time. Just like Matisse. Imperfect, quick, beautiful, masterful.
When you glue them down, are you overlapping them or leaving space?
Not really sure. I think I'm leaving some space. They're just so imperfect that
Mhm.
maybe this time I'll just put I'll put the medium. I mean, I'll put the glue stick on the paper. Look how wonderful that paper is now. It's kind of, okay, remove that. And then in a different color, the other part of the fish. Maybe I'll give him this kind of looks like an underbelly. The yellow. That's cool. And then I'm going to see if I can put these look like scales, right? Maybe I'll put them the way fish look. Let's see if I can do this. It's not easy to do this. I think it's hard. I think it's hard to deal with this paper. I think it's a little tricky to deal with the tissue paper. It gets kind of bunched up and messed up. Oh, you know, I might be using a really dull blade. That's another problem. Oh, well. Well, I want you all to see how imperfect the whole thing is anyway. Okay, so I need fins. And I think I'm going to give them green fins. I don't know what kind of fins I want. I think I'll give them these fins. I'm not sure. I'm having a hard time deciding on the fins. I think I'm gonna go with blue fins. I think I'm gonna go with plain blue fins. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay. Just, yeah, you know, you get kind of, you start making decisions about your little animal. Like, okay, so now I have to cut these shapes out. And I think sometimes these blades need to be changed and then they're much easier to use, but I'm much too impatient to do that. So
You could actually like use scissors, right?
you can do it the way I often do. I hold the thing sandwiched together and I use scissors.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do what he did. I wanted to really do his methods. But yes, you can, I'll show you the second way, which is to find scissors, which of course are always the hardest thing for me to find in my studio. Okay, I'll take this fin. Oh man, I think these scissors are, yeah, not so great. Okay, I'm gonna take the, I'm gonna make this fin. And I'm gonna hold it. It's a little tricky to do this, but and you know, you're gonna come up with a fin that has all these imperfections, and that's what he did. Oh my God, the way he was collaging, it was so loose, so incredibly loose. Okay, now I'm gonna do the tail, and I guess I can just cut this down. I'll put it all together in a second. And these scissors have a problem. I don't have any more. Where are all my scissors right? Every once in a while I have to get somebody to pick up all my scissors when I used to teach a lot in my studio and have them professionally sharpened, because one time I tried to sharpen them myself. I learned how to sharpen scissors and it was a disaster. My husband helped me do it. And you have to actually have them done professionally. And there used to be a store in Belmont called the Knit and Kitten. And you could leave your scissors there, and then this guy would come in from Charlestown, pick up like 10 pairs of scissors and $7 each. I remember perfectly. Because I had like 14 pairs of scissors I had to get sharpened. Uh-oh, it's already sticking. Okay, so now I've got the fish. And I'm going to, I'm going to glue these guys down. There's already some glue on there. You could use matte medium, but I think it might be harder.
That's all tissue paper, because mine would not hold up.
Yeah, these little fins are. Most of it's tissue paper except for this one piece here. And actually it's bubbling up a lot. Too hard to actually put it on the tissue paper, easier to put it down. And then now this just might look like a little teeny kid thing, you know, like, oh my God, just so ridiculous. Well, guess what? He spent a life doing this. He spent 40 years doing animals and he got really good at them. And he's a master drawer. And this stuff, he made it look easy. He made it look effortless. It's not.
I think I remember reading at some point that when he went to Germany and he studied during the Nazi regime that there was like no color in anything. And that's one of the reasons he wanted to come back here. Everything had no color and he was so into color. So,
well, also he lived through the horrors of some of the war, and a lot of people felt that, you know, everything was killed. I mean, there was so much devastation. So a lot of artists like Max Ernst just was like, You know, there and Barnett and Newman, there were certain people who just felt like Europe was just so dead. Okay, I guess I'm going to do an orange eye. I'm going to do a little orange eye. And I will use my little scissor method here. So I've traced the eye shape. We're going to do a bird next. And then I'm going to show you the way he would use a pastel to do the little eyeball. Yeah, all the little cracks are very important to this guy's work. And I think that's true of Matisse too. The imperfections, the way things don't go perfectly together. The movement, there's a lot of movement in these, you know. Okay, now I'm going to get a black marker. It's not a marker, it's a big old fat pastel. And then, so it's a big oil pastel. And then it might be too wet to do these little lines. I'm gonna try it. Yeah, it's actually going right through the paper. So that's not working. So maybe I just have to get a little paintbrush and get one of my colors. I'm just gonna be lazy and just paint them in. And you can take shortcuts. He did it all the time. He was always like painting something in and very messy. A little iridescent fish. Now, if you put these fish together, and they're sort of beautiful together, right? They're really beautiful together because it's like us, you know, we're kind of the same, we're humans, but we're all different. You know, all the fish are different. Now, isn't that belly really great for the paper for a fish?
Mm.
You know, and then the little dots kind of feel like scales a little bit. So this is my swallow, but I'm emulating Carle. So, and I just think it's really beautiful.
It is.
I'm really into it. I'm really into it. I just like, this gives me a lot of pleasure. I mean, I just find animals are just like, they're kind of the world to me. My cat, on Halloween night, I put my cat in a bedroom upstairs with my son's dog because they're friends, but you know, the door was opening too much. And then after all the trick-or-treaters came, I let the animals out and my cat went outside without his collar on. And I thought he was in the house when I went to bed. And this almost never happens. He was out all night and now he's been sleeping for 2 days. But, you know, I just so attached to my cat. If something happens to a cat or a dog that I have, you know, I mean, everybody is. I mean, we're all like that. We love our animals, our children, just amazing. Okay, so this is the bird I was emulating. And, you know, it's really hard to copy something really small. So I did drawings of the bird, which we're going to do right now. I'm going to draw it on a piece of deli paper. I'm going to look at my own bird. And sweet little, yeah, I'm going to have this off camera because it's too hard to put it on camera. And I could actually just look at his bird. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll just, because it's my drawings. Let's do this. I'll just put it here. But we have to blow up the scale and just bear with me because I don't know if I'll do it that well. See, I have to make sure I have enough space for the bird. There's kind of an angularity to him that I'm noticing. I'm going to do the inside of the wing first. See, I didn't do it big enough. Darn it. I'll have to figure that out. I made a mistake. Love the swallows. I love animals so much. I feel like working on animals makes me happy. I love the way when he works, he makes things each one is unique. Now I'm actually going to put the stripes, the wings, because that's going to help me in choosing the paper. It's just going to help me to get the feeling of wings kind of that he gets. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Yes. I missed the end of this, but I'll remember that. Okay, I'm going to start with a blue body. I think I want to make it kind of like this. I mean, the thing is you can do anything, but I'm going to get a little gray. I found a piece of painted paper in my studio that had gray on it. So put this under here. Well, gray. You could use gray from a magazine, anything really. But you know what? This is so beautiful. Maybe it would feel sort of, if it was gradated, it might be really cool. So I'm going to try that. Like a gradation of color. So I'm going to plan it a little bit, like the gradation of the color, maybe try that. So you could actually paint papers that were very purposeful for certain animals. I mean, I think that's really what he was doing. Okay. I can't. I'm not going to start. I'm going to get more parts. This is a more complicated animal, so I'm going to cut out more parts before I'll cut out this main big trunk of the bird next. Now, maybe I'll choose a different color. Maybe I'll do a light blue. That's a really nice light blue. That's a really pretty light blue painted paper here. I like it with all the marks on it. I could also use crazy, fun, beautiful colors. So many things to do here. I need a big enough piece that covers the whole body. Okay. He was a very choppy cutter. Like I said, he cut with a big old razor blade with no, just the old fashioned razor blade, raw razor blade. I never cut like this really in my life. I always use scissors, but kind of hard to do this. I find it pretty hard to do this, but do it choppy, do it funky. As I say in my drawing class, draw it wrong. Afraid to make it, draw it wrong. Make it wrong. Like draw wrong. See what happens then. Okay, where's my bird? My bird goes this way. And I've got, fortunately, I'm already losing parts of my bird. Shit. Lost part of the bird. Oh. Okay, well, I'm going to start to collage this down. And I don't know how to, I think I'll do it like this. This main part of the bird is not on tissue paper. I'm using a combination of tissue paper and not tissue paper. This one is not tissue paper. Tissue paper is really challenging. I think it takes a lot of practice to do what he did with tissue paper. I think it's really tricky. Okay, so I did lose part of my bird. Now I have to cut another one. So it's okay. Oh, I found it. It's right here. Okay. Okay, now I need the wings. And I've got, the wings are separated, so that's okay. So I'll do them, I'm gonna do them in parts because I'm gonna use, I'm still kind of emulating him, so I'll use the blue on this part and the brown on that part, if I can find these. And let's see if I can find how to line up these little drawings. It's not easy to do this. I think I did it right there. I'm just going to do the blue wing. I think he's really the Matisse of animal collages. That's what I think we got dealing here. Do another wing. I'm going to do another inside wing. If I can find my drawing, which now I can't find anymore. Here. Okay. Now, one thing I noticed was that sometimes things kind of go awry. So I might glue these down and then make sure that my next wing part fits, because I don't know, but it's okay if it doesn't. And that's what I love about him, is that they don't always fit so well together. So Martha, I was thinking it'd be really cool to put these collages, in a beautiful collaged environment, right? Like to have them. And he does that sometimes. And they're so cool looking, like a whole grassy area or something. Okay, now I have to see if my wings are gonna fit. I think that's gonna work. Okay, so now I want the brown. So I've got the brown over here. I did this one. I could do green though. Maybe I could do some of the tissue paper, because that might be really pretty too. This green is beautiful. Blue and green. I'll make them a little different. I can get the feel of this. Try it. Why not? So we'll try a piece of the tissue paper and add green onto the wing. Now, of course, this is a sort of an intensely hard animal, I think. I think the birds are hard. But maybe they're not that hard, but hard for me. Big mess out of that. And then I need another wing. concentrated work. In one of the little movies about Eric Carle, he just said he just loved the cutting part because everything, you just concentrate so hard and then the whole world disappears and you don't have to think about all the mayhem in the world, which of course is just as bad as ever these days. Okay, now I'm gonna see if these fit. So I think I did a wing. I did two of the same wing. So I'll see which one looks better. Is it this one? I did two of the same side by mistake. I think this looks good. I'm going to add a little beady eye because I need to feel like my little bird is more real. I'll cut out a little tiny piece of little eye. He did use a lot of tweezers because sometimes it gets very, I'm trying to put these little tiny shapes on. I have never used tweezers in my collages, but I can certainly understand why people do. I'm going to wait for that to dry and then I'm going to make it more black. It's not black enough for me. Very opinion. Yeah.
I just looked up for my work. That's beautiful.
It's getting there, right? It's getting there. Just gonna make this eye really dark.
Mine looks like a 6-year-old did it.
Yeah, but that's a compliment.
I don't know. Maybe.
But you know what? I've been doing these for 3 days, so I'm getting better at them. My first one was just big struggle. I got really off to this big ambitious start to do the jaguar, and it was just really hard. Hey, no pain, no gain. I mean, I know you, Ellen, if you did these for like 3 days, come up with some unbelievable stuff. You know, you're really learning how to do something in this class, hopefully. We all are. Hey, let's see if I can find the right wing. I'm getting all mixed up. I don't know where it is. I'd have to make another drawing because I don't know where it's gone. I've lost it. I'm losing it. She's losing it. I guess that's one. No, I don't know where it is. So there it is. That's it. Because I was missing the end of it. Okay. All right. I need this on here. And it has to have a tail. I want to finish this bird so I can do one abstract shape. So I've really noticed he does some beautiful things with the way wings kind of overlap the body a little bit. Really nice work. Really nice His drawings are so solid. So if you copy one of his designs, you're going to get a really solid sketch. Because there's just a way that the wings sort of fit onto the body of the bird. Really nice way. I have to do a little beak and then a little dark blue beak. So cute. Makes me happy. Little baby. We love our animals. The birds, the bees. Okay. Beautiful, right? I don't know. Maybe his tail a little small. So they're different. They're like swallows, but I mean, they're just so charming. I think I did something weird with that body, but whatever. Kind of undulating in a weird way. I guess I shouldn't have gone all the way up there, but you know what? I did, so who cares? And it's just, that's the thing. What I've noticed about looking at his animals is that when he does a series of animals, they're all different and the imperfections are hilarious. And he didn't care. Okay. All right. So I thought I'd do an abstract shape. So I just made a drawing of an abstract shape, like this, really fun. And which one should I do? This one or that one? What do you think, you guys?
I
like
The
Just
right,
the right one? This one?
Yeah. the
Yeah,
right one.
that's what I agree.
oh,
It actually looks like a seahorse or something. I'll do it upside down or something. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Let's just do it. Okay, so now I'm gonna really get crazy and try anything.
Alexandra,
Yeah.
I just thought of something from what you said. Maybe he did care, but the imperfections didn't mean to him that he was less of an artist.
Yeah. Well, you know what? He did have he would get really stuck and got really depressed sometimes. So that was amazing to read about. I read about how he could sometimes get really stuck and feel, kind of like a big loser because all he did was like kids' book. But so, even all these people, like they get so successful and they have their own little demons, a lot of demons going on.
Well, I think just because the world tells you you're good, that doesn't mean that you're telling yourself that.
Exactly. Oh God, I'm not gonna have enough. I can't find paper to work on. Yes, there's. There we go. Now I think I will use matte medium for this because it's too laborious to use. Now, what a beautiful shape. What a beautiful shape. What a beautiful color. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. All right. And now I'll do the shape that goes around that shape with something really cool, like maybe this. Which is going to be really hard to cut out, but I'm going to do it really fast and not very well. This is very hard to do. Almost impossible to do, but I'm going to just try to do it. And actually, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be so nice and messy. I'm going to augment the shape. I'll do something about my creaky chair. I think it's just a different way of working that's kind of exciting and cool. Like, it just makes you work differently, and there's a choppy, collagey feel to it that's awesome. You might have to do Eric Carle abstract collage. Okay. Oh, I'm getting matte medium all over everything, of course. Oh. Alexandra. I had a British friend stay with me a long time ago, and he said, Alexandra, may I have a banana? And I'll never forget that. Somehow that always stuck in my head because I thought it was so hilarious. But I also think it's very funny if somebody British says podcast. I think that's kind of funny too. That has such a good ring to it, doesn't it? Podcast. Okay, now we need bright. I'm just gonna do crazy brightness here.
What are you using for paper? That's not tissue, is it?
Today we did a combination of But you're right, I am not using tissue.
Mine is already falling apart anyway, so. Now, the other thing is the wet tissue stuck to the newspaper, so and when I try to pull it up, it just falls
So
apart.
I think it's just too wet. So
Yeah.
you have to get that fine line between a kind of watery paint, but not so wet that it just takes forever to dry. It's
Well, I was
really,
using leftover paint from Snow Farm and it was pretty thick. I should have,
yeah,
you know.
okay. Now, actually, I think I'm gonna add a little fun little thing of tissue paper to see if I can get a feel of you know, the transparency over this orange. Let's just see. You know, we're about to do a sharing in a couple minutes. I don't know. Let's see, what would be a transparent? Oh, I got a transparent color right here. This is transparent. I can just like make a little drawing. Got a little, put a little piece of a different color right there to see if it looks like spacious. Gotta fix my squeaky chair. See, the transparency is just gorgeous. That is so cool. It really is pretty. You have to be so careful if you use your scraper on tissue paper. Very hard to, I mean, it's very easy to screw it up, that's for sure. And then I think I just have to put one little piece here. And then I'll be done. Alexandra's getting really carried away. Feels so good. Feels so good to get carried away here. This is why I do it, because it feels so good to get into it. And that's why I love being an artist. As you get into it, and it just takes you away like a little sailboat. Get the wind going. Can't stop. Can't have trouble starting, have trouble stopping. And then I would probably add another piece up here, finish off that kind of feel. And of course, with your tissue paper, you can whip it off really fast by going like this and drawing that and put it on your piece. And you're sort of adding some space to shape. And it's the same thing as doing something realistic. If you're doing a little table with a shadow, you're just adding some space, feeling of space to something completely abstract. Sort of fun. Now, what would I do with those? I have no idea. But maybe it gets cut out. Maybe there's a conversation. Maybe there's like a conversation between shapes happening. But you do not have to do animals. You can do really cool, wonderful abstraction. I'm completely going down the grandmother thing, and I'm looking at all these Eric Carle books all the time, so I got really interested in them. So that's because I'm looking at those books every day.